be that they just didn't have to do anything except get organised to come to an evening class or to come to a morning class or whatever. And then the punchline is, how has this activity changed your life, or what impact has this learning had on your life, or circumstances, or situation? What value? So the $64,000 question or answer is, this has improved the quality of my life because I can now earn more money, I can now get work, I can now get out of the house, I can now talk to adults, not just children, I can do this, I can do that I couldn't do before. This is where the value of the case study is. It's in the what benefit it had, benefits for beneficiaries. So you're leading up to that, and then when you've got that statement, you then wind it up by saying, next steps, what would you do next? Charlotte, I've covered a lot of ground there, but did it make sense? Are you happy with that? Do you think that that would fit with Jill from what you know of her? And any other comments or suggestions?
Yeah, I think that was actually really helpful, because as now in my mind, when I'm going to go and do the recording, I think I'm a bit clearer on what I'm trying to get out and what information I'm trying to extract in the case study. I was just wondering, would it perhaps be a good way to think of it in sort of almost 3 steps? So something to do with their past, something to do with their present, and then something to do with their future. So kind of asking questions like, in relation to the past, what made you decide to come on the course, those sorts of things. Then in relation to the present, probably something along the lines of, what skills are you learning, have you learnt so far, those sorts of questions. And then the last one for the future would be, so what are you planning to do with the skills that you've now developed? And that I think would be a good way to kind of approach it.
I think that makes a lot of sense. That's a nice chronological storyboard. They don't all have to be. It depends on the person, but I think that's a good starting point, and that's a good way of looking at it. I would just add into those 3 stages, if you like, past, present and future, that the 4th element is reflective. What have you learned? What have you gained? What's your benefit? What have you done? That's where it's all leading up to. Because the purpose of a case study, or one of the purposes of a case study, is to communicate with other similar people to get them to come along. And so it's got to be of a benefit to the person that's viewing this, for them to actually make the phone call or come to the centre. But I think that's a very good way of starting at it. Now, the other thing I'd like to say is, we've put some questions and some points and some illustrative examples on the screen, but there is a document of questions that this is written up properly in, without spelling mistakes, and I think that's on the Ning, isn't it, Charlotte?
So on the Ning, there is actually an area where you will find this. All you need to do is go into the discussion forums, and then you need to just scroll down through the different forums until you find the one that is called the Complete DLCE Handbook. And as you can see from the screen capture on the page, there is an attachment to that discussion, and that is in fact the most up-to-date version of the handbook, and that obviously contains information and guidance on a lot of things, but in particular the video case studies.